Say visiting nurses was a misfit career for Marjorie was an understatement. She liked dealing with the patients in their home environments, but visiting nurses assumed that the nurses would have a car and drive. Marjorie walked or took public transit. In a sleepy little college town, mass transit was a joke. It went somewhat into the suburbs, but the schedule was spotty or non-existent once one passed the incorporated area of Sterling Forks. There was a taxi, if you could call a retired roofer in an old checker, a taxi company. He went out when he felt like it and would disappear to Florida for 6 weeks every winter. The only reason visiting nurses kept her was her skill in post-surgical treatment. She managed dressings, drains, catheters, and some physical/occupational therapy with a skill level only found in big cities. She was better in most ways than the local doctor, as she had experience as a surgical nurse in a busy hospital before she came to town to run the front side of the college clinic. She left the clinic suddenly after being raped and ignored and disappeared for a couple of years. Because of the abruptness of her departure, they didn't want her back. Now she was working harder for half the money she had made at the clinic. After atoning for her post-rape behavior, she gave up her side income and interstate travel to help local citizens through their illnesses and disabilities. Officially, her job was a 4-hour-a-day, part-time gig. Travel kicked the 4 hours to 12. She was tired all the time and sometimes cranky. She liked the solitude at home sometimes, but at others, she missed Charlene. Charlene was moody and withdrawn, but she was there, and there was company at mealtimes. Eating alone sucked. She had a new understanding of Fred's food poisoning episode. She neglected buying groceries, neglected checking the refrigerator and shelves for spoilage, and did dishes only when she couldn't find a clean coffee cup. She needed a change. She thought long and hard about moving in with Fred, but she had never shared living arrangements with a man. She wasn't sure that she wanted to. She wasn't sure she could still stay there and subsidize Fred's rent while waiting for the second book to sell and generate money. She had burned through her savings and was living solely off visiting nurses. She needed income. She wasn't afraid to skirt the law, as she had done it to some extent after the rape, when she was too angry to work. She had already repaired a couple of gunshot wounds that the victims wanted kept quiet and a few knife wounds in similar circumstances. Even in sleepy little college towns, there was a certain level of interpersonal violence. She was available, competent, and discreet. There was also a fairly good payoff from those endeavors, but they were sporadic and inconvenient in timing. The new side business paid better than visiting nurses. One gunshot wound was worth 3 weeks of running after buses and walking suburban streets and roads. With that and her occasional illicit herb sales, she was surviving. This was a side of her life that she didn't want Fred to see. If she moved in with him, he would find out about it. She was not sure how he would handle it. It always freaked out Charlene when she came home at 2 a.m. with blood on her. What would Fred think in a similar circumstance? Besides, she wasn't interested in a sexual relationship yet, if at all. She wasn't sure if Fred was capable of being platonic because of the 2 months in the motel and the fact that he had been married before. Why must life be so complicated? She mumbled as she stood waiting for the crosstown bus. She had a diabetic and a mental patient left for the day, and it was already late. She had missed lunch because she had to walk 2 miles from the bus stop, change a dressing on a burn patient, walk the 2 miles, and catch the bus again. What was I thinking? There's no way this job can be done properly without driving. She paced back and forth. The bus was late again, or did she miss it? She was never sure. She had been using that bus line for 10 years, and she was never sure if she could get anywhere on time. Atlanta was great. It was a metropolitan system with modern equipment and federal subsidies. It was always within a minute or two of being on time. Even Nashville had a somewhat meaningful system. This was a piss-ant little college town with a rinky-dink college subsidized bus line, on a par with a rural school bus system in a poor county in Mississippi. A third world banana republic has better transit, she mused.